What's up, you beautiful chuds, and welcome to the Let's Talk Horror channel podcast, and welcome to the Creep Zone, where we have very honest, unrated, and unfiltered conversations about something from the world of horror. On this episode, we're definitely in for something absolutely bloody different in this episode, because this is a type of horror. People will go, it's not a fucking horror. I don't give a shit. It is. Just do one or whatever. I'm doing it. This is the episode. This is the episode right now. You already know what it is because there's a fucking name on the title of the video or the episode. So you clicked on it. So you already know what we're doing. But we're doing the first musical, the one and only musical episode. When I say musical episode, we're not singing the whole way through the episode.
You've delivered too much on that musical episode now, man. We've got to break it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But that's it. The problem is I can't promise people that I will or we will not sing on this episode. I will absolutely sing on this episode. So if you don't like singing, piss off, because it's going to happen. But yeah, of course, we're talking about one of my favorite musicals, but pretty much the only musical that I like, unless it's done by the people who do South Park. But we're talking about the Little Shop of Horrors, a movie that is, I'm going to get into because this is a movie I've watched so bloody many times that I know it all, and I'm sure my guest does as well. But my guest on today's episode is James from the Biscuits and Blu-rays podcast. Is that right?
You've got it spot on, man. You warned me before you was recording that you were going to get the name wrong, but you smashed it out of the park first take.
Well, there we go. You could tell how slowly I said it, that I was trying my hardest not to get it wrong, because anybody that knows the show knows that I fuck it up every time.
We'll speed it up in post. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. But but thank you, James, for coming on the show. You've never been on the show before, so
this is my first time. Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Oh, no, I'm looking forward to it. And as I said, it took us a while to try and figure out. We did pretty much figure out we've got very opposite taste in horror movies.
It was a long process. I remember that day we went through every horror movie that we both
in existence.
Yeah, exactly. And then we were just like, I don't like that one. I haven't seen that one. And we finally, I don't know what happened.
You just put something happened with Little Shop of Horrors, and I was like, "That's the one."
That's the one.
That's the one where we found it, and that's exactly what it is. So, look, listen. If you're already listening to this, it's going to be a really fun episode, and we're just going to bloody get into it. So, Little Shop of Horrors. It was released in 1986. So a year after I was born, so I didn't watch it as I was born, but it wasn't long after. It's directed by the legendary Frank Oz. You all know Frank Oz, who also directed Dark Crystal, and the criminally underrated, it's brilliant, What About Bob? I love What About Bob. If people haven't seen, it's not a horror film, but if you haven't seen What About Bob, it's Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss. It's an amazing movie, and if people haven't seen it, go and watch it. Although it's not a horror, so don't fucking watch it if you don't want to. And of course, you'll know him from many other things as well, such as the voice of Yoda and loads of voices from the Muppets and Sesame Street. Like he does everything.
He's a man of many talents. This guy, honestly. You're missing out classics like Bowfinger and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels as well, dude. These are classic comedies, yeah.
Yeah, sort of, but Bowfingers. I haven't seen Bowfinger for fucking long time. I don't know, but I can't watch a lot of Eddie Murphy movies anymore because once after I did a rewatch of Vampire in Brooklyn, I gave up doing a rewatch because I liked that when I was a kid, and then now as an adult, I was like, that movie's shit. So I stopped watching that. So now I can't watch any old Eddie Murphy movies, apart from if it's his stand-up. But the movie itself...
Or Shrek, yeah.
Or Shrek, that's it. But the movie itself, this is like the most non-horror episode that I've ever done on a channel all about horror. And
you say that, but horror is in the title. It's a PG rating.
Yeah, well, this is how we get away with it. It says horror in the title.
Yeah, but it's grim, and it is based off a Roger Corman movie from back in the day.
Yes, the original with Jack Nicholson's in it, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, I remember having a DVD of it, and Jack Nicholson had top billing, but only because
Yes.
he was fucking Jack Nicholson. He's in one
Yeah.
scene,
He's in
like in
it
the
like for no time. And also, I
yeah.
don't know why I called him Jacques Nicholson, like he's some French actor. I don't know. But anyway, but the movie itself is starring Rick Moranis, Ellen Green, Steve Martin, Vincent Gardenia, something like that,
Mhm.
Bill Murray, John Candy, and then there's loads of people that pop up in this, like little cameos. Like people just wanted to bloody be in this movie. And you can see why, because it's so much fun. It's just so unlike so much and so unlike so many other like musicals, which obviously is why I love it so much.
Mhm.
Um, well, I'll get into why I love all this movie and everything like that. But on IMDb, it's 7.1 out of 10 and 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. So as I always
That
say,
is higher than I thought it would be, honestly.
I know that's it. And as I always say to people, if people are out there living their life by Rotten Tomatoes, by those standards, that's saying everyone should watch this bloody movie, and they should.
Yeah,
Um,
too right.
Google synopsis wise, Little Shop of Horrors is a dark comedy musical about a down in his luck florist, I don't know.
Man who
A
makes flowers.
man who makes flowers,
Sure.
assistant named Seymour. He discovers a mysterious bloodthirsty plant that promises fame, fortune. I put torture there for some reason. Fortune and the love of his co-worker Audrey, but demands a constant diet of human flesh and blood to survive. I mean, if that doesn't sound like a proper horror movie other than a musical, what does? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's weird to me that this is a musical. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is very, I mean, this is why I love it so much. I mean, like, you know, I mean, everybody knows by now if you know the show, but I think that's like what lured me into this movie, because I didn't know that it was a musical when I first watched it, because I was already obsessed with horror from such a young age
Okay.
that I had already seen, you know, Gremlins and stuff, and I saw that this was like he said, Little Shop of Horrors, like we've already said. It's like, sounds like a horror movie. You know, I remember the cover having a plant that looked like it was trying to like kill everyone, and I was just like, what? And look at the back of it, and it had practical effects, and I was just like, I want to see this. And then it turned out to be a musical, and I was just like, oh, okay. But it is the greatest musical of all time. But that's to me, obviously, personally. But one of the things I do like to like, there's a good little segue into talking about it. But I always like to ask my guests, do you remember when you first saw this movie?
I remember exactly where I was when I saw this movie for the first time. So
Nice.
the background I have is I come from a theatre background. So all you slashing musicals is just like really hitting deep.
I know. I every time I say it, I can see it's cutting to the core.
It's just like, oh, okay, said it again. But Little Shop of Horrors was one of the first things I ever did when I first started doing that. And my parents were like, oh, you should watch it then. So we bought the DVD. And like you do with Little Shop of Horrors when you watch it the first time, you become obsessed with it until you can't obsess anymore.
Yeah.
And you know it, and you know it word for word. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those films. I watch it every year. I watch there's both cuts of this I watch. There are two different
Yes.
cuts.
We're
We'll
all
probably
cool about that. Yeah.
absolutely. But it's a perfect movie, I think. This one.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong. And what I love about this movie is that it is a movie that where it isn't like a you know, a proper horror movie. It's a PG, like you said over here as well. It is one that you can introduce to like kids at an early age. And this is one of the movies we did with my daughter. And she just loves this movie all the time. The amount of times we go on car rides, long car rides somewhere, and she's like, put on Green, you know, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space and stuff like that. And we're in the car singing and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, it's a movie that you can introduce to people at a young age. But you're right. It is just, it does feel like one of those sort of perfect movies in a way. And it's weird to think that about, it's weird, especially weird for me to think about that with a musical. There he goes again. But yeah. So in regards to when I first saw this, it's pretty simple. It was on VHS. It was one of the VHSs that that my mum brought. She got it. She had it home. She already had it, and then I just watched it. Simple as that. And I literally fell in love with it. But like I said before we started recording, the reason that I fell in love with it and wanted to see it is, one, I thought it was actually horror, not a musical. But two, be my pure obsession with the magic of practical effects.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, that when I watched this movie, it blew my fucking mind that I watched it instantly afterwards. It wasn't just about, and as I said, like we go through it all with the music itself and the fact that it is such a really well structured movie for a movie that's a musical. Like this movie, for me personally, yes, it is a movie that is like has singing and stuff like that, but I almost feel like this feels like a movie with singing in it rather than it being like just a musical. You know what I mean? Like
And
you might feel differently.
that
But
is a good example of a good musical. Then, if it doesn't feel like, oh god, the singing again. A good musical will bridge that gap so smoothly that you won't even notice they've started singing. And Little Shop of Horrors is one of the prime examples of that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do love that. But yeah, as a kid, watched it, loved it, and then it's just one of those movies that I have just continued to watch throughout my life.
How old
And
would you have been when you watched this for the first time?
oh man, I don't know. Well, it was. I was gonna. It sounds really horrible to say, but I always categorize a lot of things like before my mum died, which sounds really horrible. But in my brain, that's how I have to like categorize stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
like before she died, there was like a block of movies that we would watch together all the time, and there some of them were random, like Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 and stuff like that. But
Nice.
yeah, like, and we would watch horror movies. She was like, her and my uncle were like the reason that I got into horror movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she died like as I was turning 10. So a lot of chunk of like my early horror movies are like before I was 10. So I was probably about about 7 or 8 when I watched this for the first time.
Okay,
And
yeah.
and nothing horror wise ever phased me, as I've said on the show a million times. Like you could put the worst shit in front of me and it was never a problem with me. Fear factor or anything like that has never been. I've just always been, my love for horror is the craftsmanship, you know, and I'm in awe of it.
Yeah.
And of course, Little Shop of Horrors is like literally the top tier craftsmanship, you know.
Yeah, my love of horror is very different to yours then, because I'm more or less new to the horror genre as a genre, basically, and I used to be a coward. Anything used to scare me when I was a kid. Little Shop never did, but things like Jaws was probably the first one I watched when I was a kid. Just scared the crap out of me, and then I just wouldn't watch horror for about 18 years.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, that's what I was scared of. I get it, fine. But
Yeah.
Little Shop sits in that nice little area that is just suitable for children.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like, there's some gnarly bits in it, but they're not so like gnarly. Like, I like that. I like it because it has that little bit of edge to it. You know, like
Yeah.
it is a movie that you can sit in front of kids, but then also you can do that thing. You know, when you've got kids and you sit there and like you watch them to be like, are they gonna fucking freak out at this bit? And then like my daughter's like me, she's fucking like stone cold Steve Austin. There's like nothing on her. Like she's just that's it. Like
Mhm.
I don't give. She's not scared of anything, and yeah. So, but she loves this movie. But obviously, with the show, one of the things that we do, and we're going to get straight into it, we do a run through of the entire movie. A big reason is because I never fucking remember what actually happens in the movie because I'm a moron. But also because, and as you lot have all said to me, the reason that you like me doing it and doing a run through scene by scene is because then we get to talk about the moments in the movie that you love. We get to those moments and we might have different takes to what you do. We might, you know, or you can message me and be like, you're fucking wrong. But either way, that's why we like doing it. So the film opens in space. We get to that. And we get some scrolling dialogue, but it's not Star Wars because guess what? We've been fucking tricked already because what you thought was actually space was in fact a dirty, gross little puddle on the floor, which I love. Is it's such a cool little shot because you're like, we're in space and you got the Star Wars scrolling already almost. And then before you know it, some bloke walks into a puddle. And I think it's such a clever, like, unique opening, you know, just that shot. Because it already, for me, as somebody that obviously wants to be a filmmaker, it really goes to show, like, there's thought into this movie already, just by one shot.
Mhm.
It's not just a fucking, like, uncreative movie. You're like, they're having fun with it. And this is like straight off the bat, like this is where you're gonna go. And then of course, cue title card, Little Shop of Horrors, motherfuckers.
What
And
I
it
will
doesn't say
say,
motherfuckers,
what I
but
will say is that as well, again, this is the musical theatre fan in me now. The date is different. It has nothing to do with anything. The date in the film is the 23rd day of September. and in the movie, in the Broadway show, it's the 21st. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Oh, okay. So it's a bit like The Shining, where the rooms in the book and the movie are a little bit different.
Exactly, yeah. But
they've Kubricked us.
They've Kubricked us. But the tongue in cheek tone in this is set up from that opening monologue, I think, because
yes.
they explain that this monster appears as other enemies often do. You know, we're in a 50s B movie essentially.
Yeah, we are. And you're exactly right. It really sets it up. Like, as soon as that happened, then I'm like sitting there waiting for like horrible stuff to happen. Straight away, I'm like, oh no, this is a comedy. And obviously, but you're still like, you know, as soon as I got that puddle shot, like even then and now, I'm like, it's a great little setup to go into straight away. And then straight away, we already get our first song with some three beautiful women in beautiful dresses. With their beautiful harmonies, absolutely stunning, and it's Skid Row, down on Skid Row. This is what's gonna keep fucking happening throughout the whole thing.
I'm just gonna leave you to it. I can just sit back and watch the whole movie again now.
Yeah, that's it. Skid Row looks like absolute shit. It's clearly, obviously, a backlot. I don't know if it's universal backlot or anything like that, but it looks like shit.
What I will say is, does it bother you that it clearly looks like a backlot as well? They don't hide the fact that it is filmed on a soundstage somewhere. Does that take you out of it a little bit, or do you appreciate that this is some sort of presentation?
Yeah, in other movies, I would be like, that looks fucking shit. But the thing is, I feel like it adds to it because it is a musical, right? So it adds to the feeling that it's more like of a stage play, so to speak, that it has a set dressing. It almost feels like it doesn't. This film doesn't feel real, you know, and I like that it goes with that rather than trying to ground it so much in reality in regards to aesthetically, you know, like if they'd have just put this on a street, real street, I don't think it would give the same sort of feeling as to like you're watching like almost like a live production, so to speak. That's what it sort of feels like. Yeah. So I do normally I would go, well, that looks shit. But in this movie, I absolutely I love the fact that it just looks like it's on some, you know, a backlot somewhere, and it works really cool.
But it never it's dressed. The set is dressed well. In the theater show, you're never out of the shop, so it's kind of different to see it. You know, you get to see a bit of Skid Row. And I think everyone everywhere would recognize that street. Maybe not Skid Row, but they would recognize what sort of position we're in.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I love it. And as obviously Skid Row is going on, they're singing this song. And it's obviously quite a good song to sort of like get us into the movie, so to speak. It's a good opening sort of song to get us into the movie. And as I said, you've got these beautiful women going around. Also, I always forget that they're essentially teleporting ghosts, because they just fucking appear everywhere. 1 minute they're there outside the shop, then they're in the shop, then they're fucking like following stuff. And then next minute they're like next to Seymour, Rick Moranis, who's plays Seymour in the movie. And I'm like, they're teleporting ghosts. Like,
are they breaking the fourth wall in this? Like they are talking to us. They are...
Yeah, like just in a musical format. Like nobody can say when you're breaking the fourth wall, you can't. It doesn't. Nobody say there's no rules against it. Nobody's saying you can't sing it.
No, absolutely.
So, and if anything, I'm going to sing everything in the fourth wall now from now on when I'm breaking that fourth wall. But yeah, they're teleporting ghosts. They just appear in places, and then we meet Seymour. Who's our main character? Obviously, as I said, played by the legendary Rick Moranis, who's fucking phenomenal in this. I mean, we'll talk about like stuff. I mean, you might think he's shit. I don't know, but I love
the guy. Love one of the most talented guys that ever came out of the 80s. Honestly, straight up.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that I wish was in so much more. Even though he was in a bit, I wish he was in, of course, so much more.
But what he did was too good. So
that's it.
If he's gonna do anything else, you know, it's not gonna be as good as Little Shop, Ghostbusters, and so on. You know,
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There you go, my guy.
Spaceballs. He's very much like we used to have so many people like him back in that time when, like, even Bill Murray, like, Rick Moranis is, like, nobody can do Rick Moranis apart from Rick Moranis. Nobody can do Bill Murray, and that shows in this movie when we get to it, other than Bill Murray, you know? And there's not, I don't feel like, and you didn't have to be like the most handsome person in the world. Like they were just like, you know, they just had something so creative and unique about them, and the way that they approached the scene, or the dialogue and the way they would say it. That's why they became the stars, because we enjoyed our time watching them, right? And now that doesn't really happen that often so much as unique as it did back in like the 80s and like early 90s and so on. So it's nice to have Rick Moranis back for however long we've sort of got him.
Yeah, I think as well, this sort of cast, you know, Steve Martin, Bill Murray, Rick Moranis, and John Candy as well. They stem from this sort of improv comedy background, and it's great to have that on screen. God knows what it was like on set to have all these giants of comedy at the time to just being trying to one up each other. Then it must have been electric, honestly.
Yeah, it must have been incredible. And also, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't think that after this, Bill Murray and Steve Martin were ever in a film together again. Like, I think this was it. And if I'm right, that's mental, because you would think that they would just be in stuff all the time together. But I don't think that they were in a movie again together.
We'll talk about their scene in a minute, because but that is my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's two giants of comedy who, if you were in the room with them and just them, you'd implode.
I'm going to say something that's absolutely going to piss you right off. So we're getting to that anyway.
Oh no.
So I mean, it's not too bad, and I think as I get older, it's a little bit. My view on him has changed a little bit, but I'll get into that anyway. But as I said, we were introduced to Seymour. He's already they're already setting him up to be an absolute fucking doofus, because he already like breaks a shelf and stuff like that. You can hear John Candy on the radio. Straight away, you're like, that's a recognizable voice. But John Candy is on the radio. He's talking about an eclipse that happened. You know, obviously, you know, that's not going to come into play whatsoever in this movie.
Of course not. No, absolutely.
Absolutely. And then we're introduced to the glamorous Audrey, who unfortunately, she has a black eye. So what son of a bitch gave her that black eye? Once again, we will find out. You know, this is all about the story unfolding. Also, the singing, teleporting ghost ladies. They give the flower, like, basically, they're in the movie as, like, they're singing, but also it's like there are characters within the movie as well, because the three of them are walking along Skid Row, and they start giving the flower shop owner some fucking shit. They're like, fuck off, old guy, and all that sort of shit. I mean, they're not saying that.
They do have names. They are named characters. It's Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon.
Oh, really?
It's essentially, for those of you with a theatre degree, the Greek chorus that would explain what would happen before the scene moved on. There we go.
Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah, which is obviously shit that I have no fucking idea about. But so thank God you're here. Yeah. But yeah, so and then obviously they did give the shop owner some fucking shit. He's not happy about it because he's a miserable bastard. And then it sets up straight away into our next song. Yeah, but this one is where the old lady's walking down the alley with the fucking most phenomenal voice. And then it goes, and then you got the and then you got the homeless guy go, "Where we go?"
Oh no, and dude, that's Skid Row.
Fucking! Oh, I don't fucking know. I've lost it. But anyway, I told you I don't ever remember. But I what I love about this song is that this feels like a proper opening to a show, if rather than a movie. Like at the end of this, they're all there with their arms up, all together in the street. Like I love, you know, like. This feels like a proper like musical moment, more so than I think quite a lot of the rest of the movie. Like this is like where they're actually like all coming together, the cast. It's all like, you know, singing together. The harmonies are great. And then you've got the guy that goes, "I'm down on Skid." That bit. I love that guy. You know, the guy that does a good old knee slap.
Oh God, yeah. Everyone's in a musical. It's hard to not be distracted by those sort of people who are there for that one little bit, and then you never see them again. But
no, he's literally there to slap his knee and go, "I'm down on Skid," and that's it.
Yeah, I know he is. And then there's a woman later where she's like so angry, like life has beat her down, and she's just like, "Oh, just so mad." Everyone in that scene understands the assignment, which is fine, because when you do see Little Shop on stage, that is your okay. This is the biggest number, or one of, and it's the second song in the film. Yeah, it's top tier.
Yeah, it is. And as I said, it feels like this is like the musical moment of the movie, because even though there are other songs in it, and I think obviously like there's one with Audrey later on as well and stuff, but like that feels it's like I said at the start, this feels like more of a movie than it does a musical, where it's just a movie that so happens to have music in it. And I think a lot of the rest of it is where it is really well structured, where it goes along with what's happening in the movie or going along. Like you could still take the music out of it, and then the scenes would still work. Whereas like this song, like I said, they all get together at the end, put their hands up. Like this is the song where it's like, oh, this is a musical. Whereas the other ones, it doesn't feel like, you know, they just turn around to stop to look at the camera and go like that, you know, like, so, you know, but it doesn't mean that it's just such a great song. And as I said, that the harmonies and everything that they do in this is just, I mean, I'll say this now, but this is, the songs in this, I mean, are truly fucking brilliant songs that you can listen to without even this being like, without watching the movie. Like I've got the soundtrack on CD, and I listen to it a lot, but I will listen to this soundtrack when I'm doing stuff, or if we're going on a long drive, like I said. Like it's just, the songs are genuinely fucking good.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I love about it.
But that is the work of Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. Like those are a powerhouse partnership that would carry on in musical theatre, even into Disney movies. I think that, like, because of this was their first big hit, and then they got contracted to Disney, and then Little Mermaid happened, then Beauty and the Beast, and then sadly we lost Howard Ashman. But Alan Menken is still cracking out songs that are equally as like awesome as Skid Row and stuff like that. But this did very well on the West End, and they did on Broadway, sorry, and they did really well to capture it in the movie, because the songs are just electric.
Yeah, like so good. The vocals are incredible, the sound of it, and just the way that it works with what is happening within the scenes as well. Like it's just so perfectly put together that, like, if one of them is off, it doesn't work. So the fact that it works in technically as a film and structurally as a film, but also like with the singing and music over the top of it as well, and it sounds so good. That's one of the reasons why I love this movie so much. But after that, Audrey and Mushnik, who's obviously the miserable shop owner, they're bored as fuck. And Audrey's there as well, but they're all bored as fuck. They're doing little cut transition sort of thing of them being around the shop. There's no customers, but that's until Seymour goes and gets his new strange and interesting plant, and he puts it in the window. Mushnik is like, what the fuck is that going to do? He's like, this ain't going to bloody doing it. And then as soon as he says it, some bloke walks in, and he's just like, I want some flowers. Here's some dollar bills, yo. And he's just like throwing fucking money at them.
I couldn't help but notice that strange and interesting plant.
yeah. Can you change it? Well, I'll just have to take twice as many. Twice as many? And
that's
then
a good day of business for them, absolutely.
I mean, that's it, exactly. So they're fucking loving it. Mushnik's all like, now this plant's my best mate. And then, of course, they know Rick Moranis, Seymour, or he names it Audrey 2, which it gets a little bit confusing, but because there's two fucking Audreys now. But and, well, especially if you're stupid like me. But yeah, so now we got a plant who's Audrey 2. So I'm going to refer to Audrey 1 as human Audrey, so I don't get confused.
Okay, the film helps you out a little bit, because Audrey 2 then is shortened to Tui, which I think most people reference it as. So if you say Audrey, I'm going to go ahead and assume you're talking about the human one. And if you say Tui, I'm going to go, right, that's the plan. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yes, that's it. We'll do it that way. How did Seymour come across this strange and unusual plant, you ask? Well, remember that total eclipse that they spoke about, the total eclipse of the sun? Well, that's what's when it was just staring him right in the face. and he brought it for $1.95. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, and funnily, it's also funny that I did notice this because I'm not a big fan of it, bearing in mind I am English, and I'm sure you do know. But one of the singers in the doo-wop band, you know, when they're like doo-wop, that one.
You,
yeah, that's it. It's Danny Don Jules, only the bloody guy that plays Cat from Red Dwarf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is. And guess what? I don't even fucking like the Red Dwarf. But I know the guy, so I was just like, I know that guy, and yeah, he's the guy that plays Cat.
I love how you made a note of that. You're like, the guy from Red Dwarf, which is a show that I don't like.
Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah, like I really don't like it, but I know him. Mushnik, as I've already said, he's absolutely bloody chuffed to the bits, and he wants to take them out for dinner, but Audrey can't as she's got plans, and neither can Seymour. Now, as Audrey 2 or Tui or Ratatouille, whatever, looks sick. Because he keeps on slumping his like little plant head and stuff like that, and you're like, oh no, he needs his like plant food. Yeah. So he's got to go and sort out obviously the plant, and then we get another song, another great song, and I do like this song, and also it does. Rick Moranis can sing, and that's what I like about it. Like that, you don't know if he's going to be able to sing, and you don't know if that's going to be part of like the comedy of it, but he can really like hold a note, and he can really sing, and it doesn't like. It's not like you can. What I like about it is you can tell that it's not like massively professional voice. You know what I mean? Like he might have had some coaching or something like that, but it's not like perfect. But it's good enough for the movie, which makes it better because he's more relatable as a character.
Absolutely,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's not quite talking through it. It's quite a simple song to sing. Grow for me. Yeah. But Moranis is musically trained. Like he in doing SCTV, he's done parodies of the Beatles and stuff in which he sings a full song. So he's not without a voice. Is he the strongest singer? No, but you wouldn't turn him off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it. And I think like, yeah, he hits the note you need to. And I like this song as well, as I do with every song in it. But yeah, the song is essentially him talking about like what the, you know, he's fed the plant this, he's fed the plant this, what can he do? And then of course, guess what the bloody plant wants? It's blood, which is mental, you silly gooses. Like that's like that's I and also there's a bit in this thing and as well that I absolutely love. Once again, it comes down to like the practical effects side of it as well, where you've got the song going on, and as he finishes the song, you've got the lip smacking sort of noises coming from like Tui, where it's just like, and then he turns around and he can see him go like that, and it's just, and there's something like really cute about it as well until it gets really like fucked up and not cute at all.
We're sort of with Seymour at that point, because I think we know, do you kind of know what the plant wants before Seymour does? Is that the joke there? Because he pricks his finger.
I didn't. I mean, I'm thick as shit, so what do I know? But I remember watching it the first time and I didn't know what he wanted, and then obviously like as soon as you know, then you're like, oh, okay, this is what makes sense. This is what makes it sort of unique and so on. And I love that, you know. But I mean, smart people than me probably were like, he wants blood. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, he does want blood. But yeah, I do love it. And as I said, just the little lip smacking noises at the end of it, stuff like that. And I do really love that. And then we get like a short, like a quick little time jump. From that moment, we then take him to like the radio station. Yeah. And then in the radio station, like Audrey 2 or Tui has grown twice the size. And you're like, Jesus Christ, he's had a lot of blood. Seymour's got like plasters all over his fingers as well, where he's like obviously just bleeding him dry and stuff. And it's the little things like that I love. And then, and then also, in that scene, Tui tries to bite that woman's ass, which is fucking hilarious as well.
What I like about that scene the most is it doesn't look like, you know, when people like there's a puppeteer and it's like Rod Hull and Emu, like we're British, we know who that is, where they've got like a fake arm holding it. Yeah, I never remember to look to see if that's Rick Moranis actually doing the puppetry for that. I assume. Oh, that's a good
point. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that. Yeah.
Next time we watch
either that or he's got because otherwise he's got a hand touching his balls or something like that, like through him. You know what I mean? And he probably don't want that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, maybe and also you can't run the risk, especially in the 80s, of a lawsuit, because the guy would have accidentally, like, for the outtakes, grabbed her ass, and then he gets sued. He's offset,
Yeah.
and before you know it, we don't get a movie. So yeah, it's
But
probably
it's a common theme in this movie that the puppetry is just so good, and it starts early. Like even
yeah.
the small Audrey 2 that we see, that must be a work of art of animatronics back in the 80s. That tiny little plant, and obviously it's bigger here. Then God knows what happens much later on, but
Yeah,
it's genius.
it is. And like I said, like, as a kid, it's so easy to be convinced that this shit is real. Like, I genuinely thought Gremlins were real,
Yeah.
when I watched Gremlins. And when I watched this movie, it's so easy as a kid to see why anybody would think that this is real. And that is just goes to the testament of craftsmanship at the highest possible level. And like, this is one of the reasons why I go back to this movie all the time, that even when I was doing my prep, watching it for God knows, like, this is one of those movies that I could never tell you how many times I've watched it, because I've watched it so many times. I don't know how many times I've watched it. But it's one of those movies that even now I sit there and I'm like, my jaw's almost dropped, because I'm in awe, because I'm like, how the fuck do they do this? Like, they are literal wizards.
Yeah.
Like, they're not real people. They have some sort of witchcraft spells to be able to create things that look this so phenomenal, to that, like, to this day, I'm still like, that's incredible. Like, it just looks so good. Like you say, from when it's him, like, as a little plant and he's smacking his lips, to where we go later on the movie. It's truly phenomenal. But yeah, they're in the radio station, and of course, as we already know from earlier on, John Candy. I always forget what he's called, like Weird, whatever it is. I can't remember what his name is in it. But
Wink Wilkinson.
that's it. That's the one. Yeah. And but he's the radio host, and he does that thing, spins it, so weird and stuff like that. And yeah, Rick Moranis goes in there, and then obviously I like the little cutaway where they're like, "Where did you come across this?" And he's just like, "Well," and then it just do them, and it just sort of cuts, then goes into the next scene, because like, they don't try and, like, we've already know the story, so they don't try and, like, they're not trying to get runtime on us. You know what I mean? They're just
I'd appreciate a cut of this movie where everyone who asks, "Oh, where did you get this weird plant?" He just says, "You remember that total eclipse of the sun about a week ago?" And then we just get a repeat of that same song.
And then there's like a pause where you think it's going to go like dum, and then he just tells you the whole fucking story all over again. Before we know it, we've got 3-hour movie of him
that cut of Lord of the Rings, where every time Sam takes a step, he's like, "Oh, this is the furthest I've ever stepped." And he keeps going back.
yeah, that's pretty much what it would be like. But yeah, it's just, once again, it's like, that's one of the things that I love about this movie as well, is because, like, and everybody, I always say, and I've already said it, but with, wanting to be a filmmaker, that's something even as a kid, like, I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was a kid, so that's always an extra element to movies to me, is understanding or looking at how movies are structured as a movie, and how they're cut, how they're edited and stuff like that. And there has to be a lot of intelligence with filmmaking, a lot of intelligence with editing properly and so on. And this movie is, even though it is like the movie that it is, and it's like essentially like a kid's horror movie that's a musical and so on like that, it is a very intelligently put together movie, like a very intelligently crafted movie, where they're treating it like a movie, rather than going, this is going to be full of fucking songs here and everything, and it's going to be a spectacle of this and that. They're like, it's a movie that just so happens to have singing in it, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's the culmination of the work of the Jim Henson Company, because obviously Frank Oz is involved. But it seems like everything they've ever learned from the Muppets, and even before that, it culminates here. I mean, we're only a few years after The Thing, which is like praised for its practical effects. I think we should hold Little Shop of Horrors next to it as well, for the amount of work that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, and I'll swear by it. But for me personally, Little Shop of Horrors is in my, if I was gonna do like a top 10 movies that, in regards to practical effects, You know, of course, like The Thing would be in there, Gremlins, stuff like that. But Little Shop of Horrors would genuinely be in that top 10 list for me of practical effects, because it's the feeling that you have with this character. You know, like you're there with Seymour on his journey, and you feel, you know, you feel happy for him when you do, you know, when he's got this plant that's sort of like giving him a better life, and then it obviously goes horrible. And you don't get any of this if you don't have something that's a fucking giant plant that feels real, like, and it feels so threatening, you know. And of course we get into like when it starts talking, and how important that is to the character of Audrey too as well, you know. Of it just, everything about it just works so well that there's no reason why it wouldn't be like in, you know, like lists of greatest practical effects of all time, because although it might just be one and not like a multitude of them, it's one like fucking great example of like how you do it, so you then aren't taking out of the movie, you know, you're sucked into the movie, you're not taking out of it.
But the pressure is on those guys doing that, because if you do know, if say you watched it on Broadway when it opened in '82, and then you go, oh, they've made a film of it, how are they going to do the plant? What that plant is what some people would have gone to see. So that has to be so good that people watching it, even people watching it in the know, wouldn't be able to tell that that's a puppet. And they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. But with the movie, back at the flower shop after the radio sort of station meeting, they're listening to Seymour on the radio. So he's on the radio while they're listening to it. And Audrey, once again, she's been hurt. She's got her arm in a very fashionable sling. And she's once again clearly been fucking assaulted by a dickhead boyfriend. But who is this knobhead? Well, we'll find out later. As we get to another song, and this is a sweet little song where it's just Audrey's song. This one, Human Audrey, she's singing about her dream life and everything, all the things that she and Seymour could do, like have kids that look exactly fucking like them. You know, she's doing that dream.
I'm so glad I've never noticed that before, and I watched it maybe like 2 hours ago, and I thought those kids are exactly like.
Yeah, they look exactly like him.
Yeah. This film is a gift that keeps on giving. I swear to God,
it really is, and it is a nice little, like, sweet little song. I do quite like it, and of course, like, so is she? I might be wrong, but is she she's the only cast member that was part of the production theatre-wise that was brought over from that to the movie, right?
She originated the role of Audrey on Broadway. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, there we go. See, I fucking knew something. I told you. But
which is almost unheard of. No one does that anymore. So,
well, especially this type of character as well, because she, you know, like vocally, her voice, it's weird, isn't it? Because a character like this, if you put her in a movie that's not a musical, she's probably going to be fucking annoying, and you're going to go, I hate this character. But in a movie that's a musical, it works. Because of the way that her voice works with her singing voice and so on. Like, she would be so annoying, but she's not annoying. Like, I don't ever find her annoying. Some people might, but I just never find like her voice and her annoying in this, you know, even though it could easily be. But it just works for the movie, and it works for her character, and then it works when she's, you know, doing her songs, and she has that, you know, like, you know, she's very delicate, you know, and of course, you know, and very sort of like soft spoken in a way, because of obviously everything that's happening with her dickhead boyfriend. And I think like the way that she talks and the way that she sings about it, and for the better life and stuff, it all works together really well. So once again, it's like you wouldn't have it any other way.
It does take from that old 1950s B-movie vibe again, where she's the sort of damsel in distress.
Yes.
But in terms of being on her side, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, when they develop musicals, and this is the case for this one exactly, every now and then in a musical, quite early on, a character will sing about what they desire, what their dreams are, and in doing so, the audience is like, "Oh, I want them to get that." So the fact that Audrey is singing this song Somewhere That's Green about everything she's ever dreamed of, you're immediately on her side.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then we go straight into another song with the teleporting ghost ladies. who is basically who are ironically singing a song about Seymour having some fun when he's having no fun whatso fucking ever, because he's still like bleeding himself dry to try and like, you know, to feed blood to Tui, to the killer plant.
Yeah.
Although he's not that yet, but they're bleeding him dry, and like he's growing even bloody bigger. So you're like, what the absolute shit is going on? Like, surely no bad's gonna come of this whatso bloody ever. But obviously, you know, it all changes. But now we finally see who Audrey's piece of shit boyfriend is, and of course it's Steve Martin.
Oh, love him. Absolutely
He's
love him in
dressed
this.
head to toe in black. Even his hair is jet black, and he's on his bike singing about horrible things that he's done. Oh, be a dentist. But also this is like my least favorite song, because I'm not a big fan of Steve Martin. I've never been a big fan of Steve Martin.
Wow, let's
and
wrap
I remember,
this up.
yeah, I know. And when I remember seeing this, and I was like, that's a shame he's in it. But he's in it, and I do like him in this. But and this is my least favorite song. But what I do like about this, and like this used to be one of the songs that I sort of almost always wanted to skip when I was younger, because I was like, I don't really like the song. I'm not a big fan of Steve Martin. But I now, as an adult, what I like, I don't necessarily like the song as much, but I do like him in it, like the movements he's doing, like there's like the weird like shuttling along that he does like on his feet, like it's weird, and he's just like my mama and stuff like that. Like it's, you know, so I do like it a bit more now as an adult and seeing it. But I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I fucking hate this song, and yeah.
There are people though out there, and I know them personally, who have watched this film and their takeaway is that a fear of dentists because of this film. Yeah, because it's a film suitable for kids, and he's a sadist, right? He's insane. He inhales laughing gas. He's there to cause pain. Yeah, you know, people are genuinely scared of this performance, I think.
Yeah, if you are somebody that don't like the dentists, like you said, this is probably, if you saw this as a kid, one of the reasons why. Yeah. Or don't fucking watch this bit in this movie, because you're going to be fucked for even more. But there is a scene in this that once again, we're talking about practical effects, but you have the shot in this scene where you're inside someone's mouth.
Yeah.
And it looks so real that it's unbelievable. But it can't be real, because there was no like cameras back then that would be able to do that. Yeah. So it must be like made. So it must be like a practical effect.
I imagine there's two teams at the Jim Henson studio, where one's working on the plant and one's working on this massive mouth. And
which is also the team that you don't want to be part of, because you don't know what the fuck they're doing with it.
Right, you're in trouble. You're going to spend 15 minutes working on the mouth. He's like, oh.
Well, I was thinking of other things, but you know, it's like the first Fleshlight, but.
Well, that's ruined this film for me. Thank you very much.
There he goes. Yeah, exactly. That's why Steve Martin's so happy about it.
Yeah, but Steve Martin, I don't know, he's the sort of actor in this, and at this point in his career, he can do anything he wants, right?
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, so is he a bit undirectable in this, do you find? Do you think he's going a bit OTT?
Well, I also think that when we get to it, we've also got another person in this who's undirectable. So it's quite interesting to have them together.
Yeah.
Because I have always felt that there's something about it where it works, but at the same time, it's still a bit off. I've always felt like, especially as like when I watched it for the prep, like, you know, as we get older, like you watch things, you take more in, or you might think of things a bit differently as we do. And when I watched it for my prep the other day, you know, when you're a kid, like you don't necessarily know all the shit like with Bill Murray and Steve Martin and all these things and what they might have been like to work with. Whereas now as an adult, you hear the stories and stuff. And, you know, like you're saying, like they're essentially like at the height of their powers. They can do what they want. They're essentially more important than the directors who are like, can you do this? And they're like, fuck you. I'm doing what I want, you know? So but this is a scene that is absolutely incredible coming up, but it's also does feel very off to me, where it's like it feels like there's no script whatsoever. They're like, this is like, just please make sure that this is what you try and do. Like, we still have to make this scene work for a movie. and they're like, okay, but everything else I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. But the next scene is Seymour taking out the trash. Because obviously we go back to the dentist a little bit later on for a big scene we talk about. But he's taking out the trash. Sadly, it's not Steve Martin. But he does. Steve Martin does come flying in on a motorcycle. But when I mean flying in, it doesn't mean like he's getting a speeding ticket. I'm talking about he literally flies into the scene. And it's. I mean, that's hilarious. Because you're like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't make any sense, right? Because you know the street he's just coming through, so there's no ramp there. As he let through buildings, is it a flying motorcycle? Yeah, what are we doing? It's a good gag, yeah.
It is funny. It looks funny, but also you know that like if that was to be real, he's going into that building and he's definitely dead. So yeah, but he comes flying in on his bike. Then we get like a quick conversation between Steve Martin and he's basically being a bit of a dick with Seymour, like he's sort of like, oh, I don't know who this guy is or whatever. And then obviously he's a dick to Audrey. We get another sense that he's absolutely obsessed with gas, like you said. And then they ride off and he's laughing. He sounds like one of the fucking hyenas from Lion King, like as he's riding off, you know, like absolutely like maniacal laughing. Like he's like, what I do like about it is that he is undoubtedly, well, I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? Because at this point, he's undoubtedly the villain of the movie, isn't he?
Of course, absolutely.
You know, he's a true piece of shit. But then, like, the true villain of the movie is what emerges. So we get like two bad guys in this, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's like a Spider-Man movie.
yeah, with 100 people that are bad in it. But then if only Seymour had someone that could help him get rid of this guy, well, maybe he does, because as he goes to close up the shop, Audrey too, or Tui, I keep forgetting, he's not great, and he slumps his big giant head, you know, obviously he's massive at this point, and he slumps his giant head on the floor, and then as, you know, Seymour is trying to figure out what to do, he's turned around, you can hear him, and the bloody plant, it speaks, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how can this plant speak? Isn't he like, feed me? Like, sort of thing.
Me. Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
You almost don't hear it, genuinely.
You don't.
Time.
Well, that's what's great about it, isn't it? Because you don't, like, it doesn't, like, just show a shot of him straight away. You've got the shot of Seymour, like, doing what he's doing, and then you hear it in the background. You're exactly right. And you're like, you're almost like him. So it's great directing where you're like, hang on, did the plant just fucking talk?
Yeah, he's in the shot by himself at this point, by the way.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then you hear it again. Feed me, and it's just so great. He wants Seymour to feed him, but what could he possibly want? Because Seymour, he doesn't have any more blood to give. And then, of course, you know, maybe a dentist might taste nice. You know, a piece of shit. Assaulting, you know, piece of shit who loves to beat on women. Yeah, let's feed him to this fucking plant. Also, ironically, it's funny, isn't it, that you've got like a plant who wants to eat meat. You know, it's a bit funny, isn't it? Because, you know, like you'd think he'd like, I mean, he's not vegetarian, is he? So it's, you know what I mean?
But it's interesting that it's a Venus flytrap. It feels like a B-movie monster that you would have had in those early 50s movies, like The Blob and The Fly and things like that.
But I love this anyway. And then, of course, we get like a great song. I think this is funny enough. I don't know. It's tough because I do love, obviously, like Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. Iconic. Yeah. But I do actually think that more I listen to this, I love like the beat, the groove of this song, you know, and like it keeps on like changing, like, you know, and then it's cut in between like, 1 minute it's like, you know, Seymour's like doesn't know what the fuck's going on and the plant's singing, and then the plant is almost like manipulating Seymour, and then Seymour starts coming around to it, and then they start singing together and it gets more fast paced, and it's such a fucking like well put together for screen song. You know, like it could have just been them. Like once again, it could have just been them singing and dancing together, and you know what I mean. And it wouldn't have made fucking sense to the movie.
The feed me, the song feed me, 2 notes. You know, it's quite similar to the Jaws theme. And if the shark in Jaws could speak, this is what he'd be singing. I don't think that's an accident.
No, you're right. He's just like, feed me, Seymour.
Yeah.
I love it.
Feed me.
You can do it. And I love it. But also, I know, I love it. It's so good. But what I love about it, and I was going to save it till later, but I'm not going to. So Levi Stubbs, he does the voice to Audrey 2. There is nothing like, for me personally, there is no better person. Like, you could never have this movie without this voice as Audrey 2.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because there's so much character to the character itself, like the way when he's not even singing, and then when he sings, it's so fucking cool because he has such a fucking cool singing voice.
He's for those of you who don't know, he's the lead singer of the Four Tops, who sang Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch, Reach Out, I'll Be There. He's a Motown singer basically, and he's got such power behind his voice that if any production that's ever happened of Little Shop of Horrors, it more or less copies what Levi Stubbs does on this. Yeah. It's hard not to, but that's the sign of the perfect voice for the perfect creature.
Yeah, it's mad as well, because you think that obviously, you know, as we go through it and we learn more about, like, obviously what Audrey 2 actually is, you know, it's mad that that's like his voice, and it's just so fucking, and it just sounds so, it makes the plant fucking cool, you know, like you actually are like, this is a fucking cool killer plant, like I love that, like, rather than it just being, you know, I don't know, it just, you know, rather than it just being like a Cary Grant or something like that voice, you know what I mean? And like,
but such is the way of the writing of the song that this is the most fun song in the film, arguably.
Yes,
it's a karaoke classic for many a theatre kid. So the fact that he's got the most fun songs in the musical means that he's the party. That's the one you want to be with. So anytime Audrey 2 is gaslighted Seymour, you're sort of sat there like, yeah, I'd probably fall for it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem, is it? I know that I fucking would as well, because I'm like, this is the one cool motherfucking plant.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean? Like, exactly. But yeah, so obviously he's basically convincing Seymour that basically he needs some fresh meat. And as I said, they just, when they're singing together, and it just sounds so good, it's fast pacing, it's just such a great song. And then the scene ends with Steve Martin forcing Audrey into the house, and then he hits her. And then, of course, this makes Seymour angry. Now, there's a shot in this that I fucking love as well. You'll notice this as well, but it's just great filmmaking. Like I keep saying, there's so many moments of really good filmmaking, but it's the shot where Seymour sees, like, through the window, the human Audrey gets slapped by Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And it does the quick zoom into his face through the shop window, but the shop window is all red. So basically it's him seeing red. And that's like basically him seeing red, and that basically is telling, like, he's going, so we're being told as the audience, he's seen red, he's now angry, he's seen this, and now he's going to do it. And once again, it's like those moments of like, okay, it's a movie. They're real, like Frank Oz is a real filmmaker who's making a real film that once again so happens to have singing in it. And that's what I love about this movie, is that even if you take the singing out of it, it still can work as a movie itself, because of how they're creating it on a technical level, that it's little things, that even a little fucking red light, you know, essentially telling us, like, you know, as I said, he's red with anger. It's just showing little things like that like really like please the filmmaker in me, because I'm like, right, you give a shit, right?
Yeah.
There's so many movies where people make and they don't give a shit.
The devil is in the detail on that one, absolutely. But it's interesting that it comes at the time where Seymour actually witnesses Steve Martin hit Audrey, because all the other times you just see the injuries. You see her with a black eye, you see her with a like twisted arm or broken wrist or whatever. But this is it. This is the one time in the show that you actually see him harm her, and which is elevates it that other level as well. So for Seymour, who is the purest soul, is the nicest guy, but for him to see red, something's up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to be this cool fucking plant that does it.
Yeah, it's too good, man.
Yeah, exactly. So once now this is sort of like been decided as the audience, we know that he's been manipulated by this plant enough that he's going to go and do it. So now we're back at the dentist. And of course, now this is where we get absolute fucking legend. Everybody's favorite, Bill Murray. Bill Murray in this is just so fucking good.
It's
I
too
mean,
good.
I love him. Like even the moment we see him, the way that he's sitting on his seat, like he's got his legs up on the seat like a little kid, and he's just like you were saying earlier, like. I think that it's just the fact that the reins are off. Like they are given full permission to be Steve Martin, and Bill Murray's absolutely given full permission to be Bill Murray. But when
Yeah.
you do that, I mean, sure, on set it might be hard work. I don't know, but when you get the reins are off of Bill Murray, he is because he is so different, right, and so quirky and so weird and so unlike so many like Hollywood people, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to get things that you just haven't seen before, or like it could be a delivery of a line or the way that he's doing things, and it's just so good. But his role, of course, it's a small role in it, like he doesn't pop it up again in it, but it's like one of those things that just you never forget about it. Like you never forget about Bill Murray's small role in Little Shop of Horrors. You know what I mean? But he's somebody that absolutely loves pain. Like he's there literally to get as much pain as possible. But we also know that Steve Martin is the opposite of that, where he's the person that loves to inflict pain. So almost as I said, this is a bit of a weird scene because it's almost a bit like their characters where they're like little bit, it always feels like they're a little bit against each other in regards to, of course, as a story, they're against each other.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I always feel like there's a little bit of like trying to one up each other, trying to outdo each other in this scene. And sometimes I feel it doesn't work as well as what it should.
The joy in that scene is a guy who likes to inflict pain, trying to inflict so much pain that he's not causing this man pleasure. So, but then this guy who likes pain so much that it's sort of backfiring on it. Something's got to give, and it's this sort of like chess game between these two. Yeah. Bill Murray essentially is the Jack Nicholson cameo we spoke about earlier. This is that role. He steps into it with gusto, and it's weird. And it's kind of weird seeing Bill Murray be this silly. You don't see that often.
No, I mean it's like there's some of his earlier movies, like when he was like Caddyshack and stuff like that, like when you get Cinderella Story, and like way he's saying like I really do love it when Bill Murray gets to be like Bill Murray, because of course like in Ghostbusters he is, but also there has to be a fucking movie, and it's actually Ghostbusters is a very well written movie, well structured, you know what I mean? So there you still have to like rein Bill Murray in, a little bit, but then you have the moments where you let him go, and then those moments in Ghostbusters, for example, where you let Bill Murray go, that's when you're like, you don't ever forget those moments. And that's the thing with someone like Bill Murray. He is one of those people that when you get Bill Murray, like going into a room, tapping a piano and saying they hate that, like that's Bill Murray. That's fucking hilarious. And it just gets better and better. And it's the same with Little Shop of Horrors when he's like sitting there and he's just like, oh God, and he's just like enjoying it so much. And like I said, it's like, there's like, if you put Bill Murray in a situation like that, you're going to get something that is irreplaceable, and you just can't help but love it. And then also you're like, why is he not in more of the movie?
But I don't. His character's got a name. I forget his name, but I always just think, that's just Bill Murray. Like, of course, he was just probably on set that day, and they're like, "Come on, do this bit for us."
Probably more than likely. And then and then they were all like, "Oh fuck! Now that's the best bit of the fucking movie."
Yeah, we've got to put that in now. We've got to pay him technically now. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. He's been on screen, but it's a great scene. And then after that, Bill Murray, of course, he goes, and then Steve Martin's obviously clearly he's fucking pissed right off because he can't inflict the pain he wants to. But sadly, Seymour's up next. He's in the office. We know what Seymour's there to do. But also, like, we know Seymour, he's not, I mean, he's got a gun, so you're like, oh shit, like, he's really, like, doing it. He's really gonna actually fucking do it. Not that he needs the gun, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, as I said, Steve Martin has failed to cause any pain, so he's gonna take it out on Seymour. He pulls out all the, like, the gnarliest equipment. Like, once again, if you don't like dentists, you're fucked at this point, because he's pulling out these things that are gonna make you pass out trying to watch it. I mean, it's gross. And then this scene sort of basically ends where, once again, we as we've learned throughout the movie, he's obsessed with gas, and he's got his own like gas mask thing apparatus that he's made himself. But he just takes too much of it. He basically murders himself on gas, the fucking idiot.
Yeah, his mask breaks. Like
yes,
he does intend to deal with Seymour, and I think in a fair fight, yeah, Seymour's done for. However, he can't stop laughing.
No, he can't. And there's a scene in this. Once again, there's so many like scenes in this movie where I keep on taking little bits out of it that are so quick. But then I'm like, oh, that's so good. Where he shows him the picture on the board, and the picture on the board is a dog's like fucking mouth, and he's just like, you could look like this.
This could happen to you, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. This could happen to you, and it's so quick. And like, if you don't know, if it's like there's, I mean, for years I didn't notice that it was a dog. I just thought it was somebody's really bad teeth, and then it was only like after like a few times watching it, I was like, that's a fucking dog's mouth. Yeah. And it's just those little things that I absolutely love in it, and it just makes me laugh. But yeah, so Seymour, he doesn't even need to use the gun because Steve Martin basically kills himself, and he's just like, oh, he basically turns around and says like, oh, something like, oh, you did it to her or whatever like that, and he's just like, who? And then he just looks at her and he goes, oh, her. And he
dies,
and then he dies. So fuck that guy, and it's Steve Martin as well, so I can give a shit. But anyway, so now Seymour, he's basically, this has all happened. Obviously, he didn't actually have to kill Steve Martin, but dinner's sorted for Audrey too. Yep. But he doesn't want it whole, so Seymour has to go and chop it up. And at this point, it turns into like a proper like sort of horror moment where everything's sort of in the shadows. You've got the axe going up in the air, and then bloody miserable man Mushnik. He sees him. He absolutely legs it at this point. He's like, shit, what the fuck has happened? Like, at that point, you don't know whether he's gone. Like, you don't know if you're going to see him again, but obviously, he does. He's a sort of like... Also, this is like the scene in it where it's like takes it up a little bit notch for horror, you know what I mean? Like, you've got him, obviously cutting somebody up with an axe and stuff. And then the next scene is like him actually feeding... Audrey too, like actually putting legs or whatever it is into his mouth and stuff. Yeah. Once again, it looks so fucking good. Like, it's incredible. Like, you can't tell me that that's not a real fucking like a plant eating human legs. You know what I mean?
Really, it's the first time in the film as well we get to look inside Audrey's mouth and see this tongue and these teeth are vegetation essentially. It's so gross that you do think, well, again, details, the devil is in the detail. If I was to look into a plant's mouth, that's what I would expect to see.
Yeah, you're right. And it's just like, it's like got that sort of like shiny, like slimy sort of texture to it as well. It's fucking perfect. Like, it's one of those things, like, there's always like, I've spoken about this before, but it's like, if there was certain things, now you would need a fucking big room for it, but like, if you could have like things from movies, like having a full size Audrey 2 would be one of my holy grail like bucket list things. Like, just to have in the corner here or something. I don't know, like I always said, like having one of John Doe's books from Seven, like that's one of my things, so like having an Audrey, because it's just like, I would spend hours just staring at it.
I just look at it all the time. Yeah,
I would. And then the missus would be like, dinner, and then I'll be like, not me. And then you know what I mean? And then but that's it. So, but yeah, it's just incredible. But that's like one of my like holy grails. They like, what can you have? I'll have this, please. But yeah, so Mushnik's absolutely legged it. Seymour's been feeding Audrey too, and then as morning comes, the Rozzers are around. They're asking questions and stuff about, asking everybody on Skid Row what happened to Steve Martin. And then we get our next song, which is it's not awful, but it's my least favorite song in it. What fucking song is it? It's
Suddenly Seymour, dude.
Suddenly Seymour. Yeah, I just don't know. I think it's because this one is like, there's not like the tempo of it that I like with the other songs.
Okay.
So this one is just the one that's like, I like it, and it's really sung really well. And once again, it's like a nice little sweet song. But I prefer Human Audrey's earlier song.
Okay.
where
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
talking about it rather than this one. But it still works. It's not a bad song. It's just like the one where I'm like, I could skip this one if I wanted to.
If there are any theatre people listening, he doesn't mean what he says. Yeah, forgive this man. He knows not what he does. Like, suddenly Seymour is if people think Little Shop, I'm going to just sing a song on Little Shop of Horrors for karaoke. It's suddenly Seymour. That is what it
Oh, see,
is.
like mine's not. Mine's like Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. That's the one I'm going for.
Yeah, there are so many like perfect duets in musical theatre, but suddenly Seymour is the culmination of these characters who only have each other at this point now. It's just so perfect. You know, Audrey's literally been beaten down to her lowest point. Seymour is just sort of, you know, flailing in the wind a little bit, but they have each other. That's
Yeah.
what matters. It's such a lovely song, and if you were to push past that opening slow bit, it picks up tempo a little bit later,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and again the Greek chorus comes back. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good song. It's just, you know, once again, it's difficult for me because I'm not a musical person. So it just, that's the moment where it's like, it feels so much like a musical. Like, it feels like I could be in an actual theater at that point watching that, like that bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Rather
yeah,
than
yeah.
a movie. Like, where I keep on saying everything feels like a movie that so happens to have singing in it, that moment is the moment where it feels like an actual musical rather
Right.
than a movie, if that makes sense.
That
But
makes sense.
yeah, as you say, like and I like the fact, you know, they've gone from like the ruins of what lives have been, and then they come together. They're both really, really happy at that moment. But obviously, it ain't gonna last that long, because obviously, with all their dreams sort of coming true, Mushnik is back. He legged it, and now he's come back. And now he's threatening Seymour because obviously he knows what he did to Steve Martin.
Yeah.
And then as Audrey too is singing over top of sort of what's happening, what, you know, like what Seymour needs to do, like a no, like, you know what I mean, like you got the singing like as what's his name, Mushnik is like almost blackmailing Seymour, you know, like saying like, oh, if I keep the plant, you know, then you can go away. You can't come back and everything like that.
I won't tell a soul what happened here. If you leave, I'll keep the plant. You just go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But as he's doing it, slowly, Seymour is pushing him back, and we can see the wide open mouth of Audrey too. And we sort of know what's going to happen, and then obviously it does. And I love, like you said, it like because he's a Venus flytrap, it's so fucking like impactful. Where like the mouth close, and it's just like like
and it
that,
feels heavy.
and then and he's gobbling it down. And once again, it's one of those moments that's like a bit horror heavy, so to speak. Like, it's not gory, it's not loads of blood and stuff like that, but it's like those moments that take it into like the horror territory, you know. Well, like it has those things.
It's weird to me that like Mushnik's in Audrey 2's mouth, and he's still like scrambling to get out. One bite happens, and it's visceral in the sense of like the sound design, the music's doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
So good, yeah.
But two bites, and then he's like 2 bites and done, and then he swallows him like a fish.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he just slides in. That's it. But it just looks great. And once again, it's just a great scene and stuff. And then you realise, like, obviously, like on the story standpoint, it's just like this is getting more and more fucked up, you know, for Seymour and stuff like that. And how is he going to get out of it? But at the moment, after that, all the offers are absolutely coming in now. Seymour, like. For Seymour, everybody wants a piece of this, the sensation that is Audrey 2, this giant plant, who obviously, he won't stop bloody growing, and he's needing more and more meat and blood all the bloody time. All the pressure is absolutely overwhelming for Seymour, who also at that point gets a little bit of a slap from human Audrey, which is always a little bit funny, because I'm like, I would have been like, what the fuck are you doing? But he gets a little slap from her, and then at that point, he absolutely legs it.
Yeah.
But obviously that's a bad mistake from him because obviously, well, Audrey catches up to him, and then they basically, at that point, they plan to skip town and get married, and then obviously everything's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Seymour heads back to the flower shop to get his luggage, and Audrey too is not happy, and basically he's hungry, he wants some more meat. Seymour is acting a little bit like he's sort of trying to take control of the situation a little bit more now, but also like as a viewer, we're like, that's not gonna fucking work against this like manipulating giant fucking mutant plant. So yeah, so he's trying to be a little bit more of a tough guy, and then he says, right, oh well, I will go and get some meat, but it's not going to be human meat. I'll go and get you some meat from the butchers, from the meat shop,
some sirloin, yeah.
But then it gets like way more fucked up, because then Audrey too, the plant, knows how to use a fucking phone. So when Seymour leaves, this evil intergalactic plant from outer space, he has other ideas. As I said, he calls Audrey on the phone, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like, I do love this moment, and in her absolute disbelief, human Audrey, she actually goes over to the shop to see what's going on, because she sort of sees him through the window, and he's like in the window, like laughing, like like that sort of thing. And yeah, she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" So she goes over. She goes over to the shop.
It's darker than you'd think, though, because A, how does Audrey 2 know Audrey's phone number? And B, he knows how to operate the till to get the coin to put into the telephone. So he's always watching Tui. I think that's the real takeaway from this, is that he knows Audrey's number. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't have eyes, but like that. But also he does have eyes. But where are they? You know what I mean? Like, he sees everything. So you're like, once again, it's like the practical effect size, it's way or side, it's incredible, but also he's a plant, he doesn't have eyes, but he still sees, and and then you start thinking there's no logicality to that, but then you're like, who gives a fuck about logicality? Because it's so cool. It doesn't even matter. But also this scene is also, so this is going to be really weird, right? Because I don't know whether this is one of those moments where subconsciously it's something where I'm overthinking it, which is purely probably the case, or a well-known, maybe the most well-known and most important horror director of all time. I don't know whether subconsciously he thought of this scene when he was making another movie, and that movie was Scream. Because remember the opening of Scream when you had Drew Barrymore with her blonde hair that was a bob, very similar to Audrey. And in this scene, Audrey is on the phone to somebody that she doesn't know who it is, and she thinks they're having things. She thinks it might be Seymour or so on, when in fact it ends up being a murderous plant. Well, that's like what happens at the start of Scream, but it's not a plant. It just ends up being that she's on the phone to the people that are trying to kill her.
Is it too late to sue the Wes Craven estate for stealing that idea?
Well, this is the thing. So when I was watching it the other night, that's when I thought about it for prep, and I was just like, do you know what? Like, this really does remind me of Scream in quite a few ways, but of course, more than likely it's bullshit, and I'm just overthinking it, and also. But there's a load of, like, quite a few little similarities. So I'm part of me, but also I like thinking that maybe Wes Craven was just like, I fucking love Little Shop of Horrors. And I'm like, I love this scene in Little Shop of Horrors. It's such like a dark moment in it. Maybe I could turn that into like the start of my horror movie called Scream with Drew Barrymore and get her the same haircut. It's a little bit of a fun thing that I like to think of.
I'll tell you what, if you heard it here first, let's start that rumour. Like, that's exactly what happened. Wes Craven bought a ticket to Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
That's it. He loves Little Shop of Horrors so much. That's his homage. The homage that nobody apart from me thought about. But that's it. But yeah, so obviously, as I say, she goes over there to see what the hell is going on. As I said, it's just it's a bit of a darker scene and so on like that. Audrey the plant, who rings, obviously, human Audrey on the phone, she picks it up, blah blah blah. As I said, she goes over there, and then human Audrey, she's now at the flower shop, and like I said, because Seymour's gone, really like what's going to happen. Like at this point, but once again, the intrigue with this movie, like a lot of it, is like, how does that happen? Like, how do we see what happens? And that's what obviously makes it exciting. But of course, Audrey 2, the plant, it tries to eat human Audrey.
Yeah.
And then he's got her in the mouth, and then Seymour comes back and then pulls her out. Now, if you're watching, so I should have said at the start of this, which
Mm-hmm.
is literally what I was going to fucking say, and I should have said it. And if you've got this far and you're thinking what version we're watching, we both said, and it makes sense for us to do the theatrical version because that is the version that most people have seen. But also, some people don't know about the director's cut or what is different there. So I'm not going to say what is different right now. I'll talk about that at the end. But this scene is one of the scenes, and a scene obviously a little bit later on that has a very vast difference in the director's cut, because in the theatrical version, Seymour gets there just in time and pulls her out, and then the next scene is them outside in the brickwork sort of stuff having a conversation. And something at that point that doesn't happen in this movie, in the theatrical version, happens in the director's cut. But we'll talk about that.
What
but
I
also
think once human Audrey is in the mouth of Audrey 2, that's when the start of this branch timeline happens.
That's it. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. But for this version, for the theatrical version, she basically gets out and she does survive, which I said we're going to anyway. And then at this point, Seymour's like, I know what I've got to do now. Like, I need to fucking end this. So then he goes back into the shop. And then, of course, they have like a little bit of a conversation and so on like that. He heads back to the killer plant from outer space. And he's going to end this once and for all. And then we get, of course, probably the most, recognizable, one of the, if not the most recognizable song from the movie.
This is your favorite song in the film, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. So this one and the other one earlier on. But I think that, this is the one that me and my daughter listen to all the time. Sure. And I think it's because there is so many absolute fucking bangers in this song in regards to line. This is the song, when you're a kid, and you're watching movies and then someone swears and you're like, oh, fucking hell. You know what I mean? In this movie, you've got a plant from outer space swearing and saying funny shit. And when I remember being a kid and absolutely being on the floor laughing, when you can't breathe and you're going to vomit everywhere. I remember that's what I was like when I saw this as a kid. I was like, I shouldn't be fucking watching this, this plant is swearing. And now my daughter gets to experience this. So there's such lines as, I've got some written down here. Great times as, you don't know what you're looking at, but that's tough titty, kid. That's one of the great lines.
That's one of them.
You say that ain't fair. You say that ain't nice. You know what I say? Up yours. That's a great one. And my favourite is, you better move out. Nature calls. You got the point. I'm gonna bust your balls. And that's my favourite line in it, and it's so great. And my daughter literally laughs her head off every fucking time. And then we also both look at the dog at the same time and go, he ain't got any balls. And then we laugh and stuff like that. And the dog is really sad looking. He's like, no, I don't have any.
Oh, this is. I feel bad for the dog.
Yeah, I know, but it's also hilarious. But basically. But yeah, this is such a great scene, and it's a great scene for the movie itself in regards to the song, because it's just great. I mean, I'm a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm a mean green body. Yeah, it's just a great song. The rhythm, the speed of it, just everything. I love the fact that you've got the other loads of little Audrey 2s or whatever coming out of him, stemming out of him. They're it's so good. And then also he ends up getting the gun. And starts shooting. Obviously, he's a really bad shot, but also he doesn't have any eyes, so it's not his fault. But he's trying to shoot Seymour as well, and he almost shoots him in the dick.
It's subtle, but there's a moment where he grabs the gun and he spins it round, and it's like he holds it like he's looking for aim.
Yeah,
but he's got no eyes. It's a plant, by the way, and he's just sort of aiming this gun at him. I love it. It's just.
Yeah, it's just so great. It's so silly and it's so much fun. And the song is so fun. And just Levi Stubbs just is so fucking good. It's just, it sounds so good. Just, it is one of my favourite singing voices, of all time in anything. It's so cool. And as I said, it makes this plant cool. If it just had like a Frank Sinatra sort of green mean mother. But instead we get just a fucking cool voice coming out of this plant. And then obviously Rick Moranis, he gets his trousers dropped as well when it makes it, and I'm laughing my head off. The kids laughing, the dog's laughing as well. He loves that bit. even though he's got no balls. And then also, yeah, absolutely. And then we get the amazing song continues, and then the evil plant from outer space, he goes full Super Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
Nice.
He fucking pulls the building down. Now, in Secret of the Ooze, it's stupid because Shredder basically tops himself by pulling a fucking building down on himself, and it doesn't make any sense for the movie whatsoever. Like, you don't get the Turtles fighting Super Shredder, he just kills himself. But in this, the building falls on Seymour, and we see him get covered while Audrey 2 is laughing and so on like that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, it doesn't affect the plant whatsoever.
At this point as well, we should say that this is the biggest Audrey 2 is. Like, he's huge. We see him in the bay of the shop, but now he's taking up the entire. Like, he's to the roof, basically.
And that's all you get if you're watching the theatrical version.
We will talk about it. We will get there.
We talk about it. But yeah, so he goes full Super Shredder, brings the building down. We think basically at that point, Seymour is definitely dead. Once again, depending on what you're watching. Well, he's not, because then he manages to grab this absolutely fucking massive electrical wire and electrocutes Audrey 2. And he goes, "Oh shit!" Which I love. And then he properly blows up in probably like the worst effect of the movie, because that does look shit. I'm not gonna lie, like, it just looks like somebody's lit in some sparklers and throw them everywhere. You know what I mean?
There may be a reason that it doesn't look particularly good.
Exactly, because they were like, well, now we've got no fucking time. They were like, have no money because we spent it all on something else, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, so Audrey 2 gets blown up as well. And then, as I said, this is very different if you're watching the director's cut. But then in this version, Seymour is victorious and he emerges from the smoke like a hero. And then we get the happy ending where Seymour and human Audrey, they get their nice house with a white picket fence. And then for an added little bit of bonus fun on this ending, there's another killer plant from outer space growing in the garden who does like a little wink without an
smile.
eye. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then the movie ends, and that's the movie. So
that's Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, that's it.
That is Little Shop of Horrors. But there's more, because I won't talk too much about it. So there is a director's cut of this, and it is a zillion times better.
It is.
But
it really is.
I get it. So basically what happened was the studio, they spent a shitload of money doing this ending, and we'll talk about what it is. And you can tell they spent a shitload of money on it because of what happens. And then the studio saw it and they were like, we want a happy ending.
It's too much of a downer, that ending you've just done.
The typical Hollywood bullshit.
Now, I will say as well that what they cut from the director's cut is the original cut from the Broadway show. So the ending in the Broadway show is the same as the director's cut. We've changed
so like the darker ending, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The theatrical cut is made to keep the studio happy.
Yes, exactly. So what we see in the theatrical version is actually not the incredible version, because what does happen is, like I mentioned, human Audrey does die. And then you're like, what the fuck? Like, because obviously I spent my youth watching the theatrical version because of VHS and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was only later on in life that I actually watched the director's cut, and I had no idea. So the first time that I saw the director's cut was actually by accident. It's like when you watch Billy Madison on streaming now rather than the VHS. There's loads of extra bits in Billy Madison that I never knew existed, and I'm like, oh shit! Like there's there's things in Billy Madison that didn't make sense and it was still funny, and now it does. And this is the same sort of thing. When I watched this and accidentally didn't know I was watching the director's cut, when Audrey dies, I was like, what the fuck? Like, hang on a minute. Like, and then I started thinking, am I wrong? Like, did I misremember? It's like the back rooms. Every layer is all fucked up. But then Seymour also dies as well. And then we get the most incredible scene. I still think it's one of the most incredible scenes I've ever seen in my life.
I agree.
Where literally all these basically a shitload of Audrey 2s are destroying everything. And it isn't like a 1 or 2 minute scene, or it's not like a radio thing going like, oh, these killer plants for outer space, they're killing everyone and destroying everything. It's a massive, like really long scene
Yeah.
of these plants causing all this destruction, bridges, buildings, everything, and it looks absolutely phenomenal.
It is
And
spectacular. It's almost like imagine like a scene from Pacific Rim or something like that.
yes,
But just like Audrey 2's. It's Audrey 2 -1. There we go. That's what's happening here.
that's it. So I would say, so the reason that we did the theatrical version, as I say, because not everybody knows that there is a director's cut or have seen it.
Yeah.
I am somebody that I will never, apart from doing the prep for this, I never watch the theatrical version ever now. I
Same.
will only ever watch the director's cut because, yes, it's not like the nice ending that like the studio and some people want, but it's just the fact that I think it creates so much more iconography by doing that. You know, like I think like I do genuinely think that even though they think the nicer ending would have been better, I actually think the ending, the director's cut ending, is the better ending that they should have gone with originally anyway, because at least that way people will be like, well, that was fucked up.
In terms of the themes as well, you remember when Audrey said she wanted to go somewhere that's green? By having the director's cut, she is fed to the plant by Seymour because she's on death's door. So, and she has a reprise of somewhere that's green. So that is where she wants to go. She wants to go somewhere that's green. It makes sense for the characters. But also, it's just a badass ending. I just fucking
it's
love
so
it.
fucking cool.
And then because
really
obviously we get the girls come back, the ghost girls that you keep saying.
They're transporting ghost girls. Yeah,
And essentially, the film stops, and they come up on this little platform, and they say, subsequent to the events you've just witnessed, like this is what's happening now. It's gone to shit. Like they've taken over this country, they've taken over this city. Like, where do you live? And at one point at the end, it's like it does a Gremlins 2, where it takes over the projection screen. So one burst. If you were watching this in the theaters, it was like Audrey 2 has burst through the auditorium. Basically, it's just so good.
Yeah, it is, and as I said, it is one of my favorite scenes like ever, because, and it's, you know, you just think like all the fucking work that went into that, you know, like creating that, and it looks so incredible, and everything that goes into that. And then they're like, it's that typical Hollywood story, isn't it? Like all the work, the craftsmanship that goes into it, and it's actually makes the film so much better. And then they're like, but we need the happy ending, and then you're like, oh, fuck you, Hollywood. Like, you know, it does my head in.
What is interesting, I find, though, is that change to the happy ending must have come so late, because on the soundtrack for Little Shop of Horrors, if you've got it on vinyl, if you've got it on CD, you still do get the song "Don't Feed the Plants," which I've spoke about before. It's, you know, it's sort of like a little Easter egg for those of you who don't know, because watching the happy ending, you'd be like, well, what's this "Don't Feed the Plants" song? What's that about? But you know, they clearly did all that to then change their mind so late in the game that they had to rush it, which is why when Audrey 2 does blow up, I don't think it looks particularly good.
No, and also you can sort of almost tell, like they put in that bit where it goes, oh shit, like it sounds like it doesn't sound the same as everything else. Like, they obviously just added it all in and stuff like that. Like they probably got him like over the phone to fucking do it and recorded it or something like that, you know.
It does sound that way, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, but that's the movie. I mean, in regards to general conversation, I don't know if there's anything else that you've got that you wanted to talk about before we go into like overall thoughts and stuff like that. Is there any bits that...
There will be people who kick me if I don't bring this up.
Go on.
Obviously we've had the cut ending of Don't Feed the Plants and stuff like that taken over, but there is a storyline in the musical that is dropped from the film completely. And it is about Mushnick, Mr. Mushnick. Essentially, Mr. Mushnick sees that there is profit to be made via Seymour and his new plan. Therefore, Mushnick decides to adopt Seymour as his son. And we've got a good song called Mushnick and Son. where those two sing about basically just being badass bosses, and but so it's a little bit darker once supper time comes around, which is when Mushnik dies, because essentially he's feeding his dad to the plant.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's like that extra layer of
Of
next
that,
to
yeah.
it, yeah.
There is also a cut song from The Dentist. So Steve Martin could have been in this film longer. So consider yourself lucky.
I will, yeah. Thank God.
He had a song called Now, open bracket, It's Just the Gas, close bracket. Now,
Right.
Essentially he's singing about, don't don't be a fool to try and help me. It's just the gas. It gets him high and stuff like that. I was lucky enough to be in a production of Little Shop of Horrors a few years ago where I played the dentist. And let me tell you for a fact, that song, I'm glad they cut that song from this movie. It's a fucking drag.
Oh, really?
But it's interesting that it fleshed out Orin just that little bit more. I think it would have been a bit darker should they have done that. It would probably give it a 12A rating as opposed to this
more than
PG
likely.
one. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's what's great about this movie is that it's funny. It's funny that this movie is a PG movie because it does feel very much like an adult movie.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It doesn't feel. There's nothing about this movie that makes it feel like a kids movie, apart from the fact it's got singing in it. You've got domestic abuse. You've got essentially like somebody that's taking drugs, essentially like using gas, and he's like a druggie on gas and stuff like that. You've got murder. You've got like intergalactic fucking plants, like eating people. Like they don't, and they did this obviously a lot in the 80s and so on like that as well. Where movies like even if they were kids movies, like even when you look at things like Goonies, like it never for me, even though it is a kids movie, the start of the movie, one of the brothers is hanging himself as a to try and get out of jail, and he literally you've got the scene of him hanging himself, and he's literally like you see it, right? And that's what I love about these movies, especially like in the 80s predominantly as well, is that they were always made with the intention of not making kids movies, even if they were. And it makes them so much better because of it, because now as an adult you can still watch them, and as a kid you can still enjoy, like you can watch Little Shop of Horrors because you're as a kid, because you're like, this is really fun music, it's like really fun, you've got a cool fucking killer plant and stuff like that. And then as an adult you can see all like the adult themes running throughout the movie. And you used to get that so much in these, like I said, even in something like the Goonies, and that's why still to this day, like, I watch the Goonies all the time, because you can watch it as an adult, you can watch it as a kid. And that's where I feel with Little Shop of Horrors, is that I think there's enough in there to basically please everyone, but it doesn't show itself as a kid's movie. It is predominantly made as an adult movie.
Yeah, I think the beauty of that is that it's based off this really corny 50s black and white Roger Corman movie, but also it just doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
For example, the musical Sweeney Todd, Tim Burton's Sweeney Todd, it takes itself far too seriously.
And it has the most annoying song that's ever been made in the fucking world in it.
Which one would that be?
I can't, with Joanna song, it's the most fucking annoying song ever made.
You are right, but you see what Joanna. But you see what I mean? Like you could watch. But you could watch them back to back, Sweeney Todd and Little Shop, and you think, this is chalk and cheese. This doesn't make any sense. So
I remember watching Sweeney Todd at the cinema with my missus, and she loved it, and I was like, this is fucking doing my nutting. This is the worst day of my life. And
be kind to Sweeney Todd. It's a masterpiece. Thank you.
Well, the thing is, you're my partner. See, this is the problem that I've got. My partner absolutely loves musicals, so she's fine with it. She absolutely loves it. So unfortunately, I know way too much of the High School Musical 3 soundtrack than I ever wish I knew in my fucking life.
That is the true horror movie you should be doing.
That's the true horror movie, and I have to sit through loads of these fucking musical stuff because she loves it. So I can't. It's not for me, but this movie, this movie's great. We're getting to overall thoughts really quickly before we do. There's a few production info and facts. One being John Candy was originally offered the part for Mr. Mushnick, but he turned it down. But then Candy later asked the director, Frank Oz, if he could be cast in a minor role instead. Oz then offered Candy the part of a radio DJ, Wink Wilkinson, and he accepted it.
Which is weird that this has happened again, because in Ghostbusters, John Candy was offered the role for Rick Moranis' part, and turned it down. Was he just turning down stuff he didn't want to do, or
I have no idea. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know much about John Candy, like in regards to. I mean, I watched the John Candy documentary that was really good, and I've seen a lot of John Candy movies, but I don't know. Maybe he was just like, I don't need it. I can't be bothered. You know what I mean? But then. Then he was just like, actually, I've changed my mind and it's too late. And then, so I don't know. I honestly don't know, but it's interesting. You're right. Another one that I've got is at the time of its release in 1986, the film was the most expensive production by Warner Brothers Entertainment with a budget of 25 million. It even surpassed Aliens in 1986 that had a budget of 18 million and was shot and it was also shot in the adjacent stage at Pinewood Studios. So they were shot sort of, adjacent stages, Pinewood Studios, but it had a bigger budget than Alien. But also, like, probably 25 million. I bet you 20 million of that was the fucking ending they got rid of. Like, that's the sad part of it. You know what I mean? They must have been so fucking gutted, I tell you. And then the last little fact that I've got is, as part of the film's production, the Audrey 2 plant was occasionally actually interviewed in character by the press. On at least one occasion, the interviewer concluded with Audrey 2 eating the interviewer. I mean, that's just fucking cool, isn't it? Like, I mean, I'd let Audrey eat me. It's
a good way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like how, like on your gravestone, stuff like that. You've got the normal stuff, and then like it's got Brett eaten by an intergalactic killer plant from outer space. I mean, to be fair, even if that doesn't happen, I want that on my gravestone.
You should just put that on there and see what people think.
That's what I'm doing.
Maybe plant a little Audrey 2 on there as well.
Yeah, doing like a little wink.
Yeah. A quick thing, and this is the genius of Rick Moranis and this performance as well, is that because the puppetry is so good, they had to film it slowly. So Rick Moranis was doing things a little bit behind, a little bit slower, but you can't tell. Obviously, they'd speed it up later and in Feed Me, which is one of the fucking fastest songs to sing. But that is just the extent of Rick Moranis' talent. It's just he can do anything at this point. I just love him.
Yeah. I know. I truly love Rick Moranis. Like I said, we used to get so many incredibly creative and unique actors that would just, like I spoke about, Bill Murray and the little things he would do in Ghostbusters. But it's like what Rick Moranis was doing in Ghostbusters, and even like he's so different in Ghostbusters as he is in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yet you're still like, but it's Rick Moranis. You know what I mean? Like, the way that he runs in Ghostbusters, or the bit where like, he goes through the door like the twice, you know what I mean? He's going around in a circle through the door. Like, once again, it's like, it's Rick Moranis doing what only Rick Moranis can do. And that's why it works. Like, this movie just works. I mean, really quickly, overall thoughts on the movie. I always let my guests go first. Obviously, we already have spoken so much about it. So really quickly, what are your overall thoughts on it?
I just think it's a masterpiece. The problem I do find is with that theatrical cut. Today is the first time I've watched that in a long time since finding it. But the problem there would be that the director's cut isn't available to people. So I would urge people to go and find the Blu-ray for it. Yeah, buy it. It's worth your time. With the director's cut, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. I just think it's 5 stars across the board. Everyone's giving their best. Everyone's at the peak of their game. No notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're exactly right. Like, this is one of those things where if you don't know about the director's cut, or you do and you haven't seen it or whatever, like, you're exactly right. Like, if you love this movie, just buy it. because then you get to experience what the director's cut is, and then it makes a film that you already love, if you haven't seen it, even better.
Yeah.
Because we get like one of the greatest endings that's ever been like put together that no one like has seen, or what, you know, wasn't a part of the theatrical run. But overall, I mean, I think it says it, where the fact that I'm somebody that I don't like musicals, and trust me, like I said, I live with somebody that literally loves musicals and and goes to musicals all the time and everything. And I've had to live with this person for nearly 21 years, loving musicals. So I've been around it, and also I've tried. I've watched was it Anna and the Apocalypse, and turned it off because I couldn't fucking deal with it. I've tried Repo, the generic opera. You know, like I've seen that. You know, because a friend made me to. So it's not, there is just something that I just can't connect with when it comes to musicals. It's not like that typical thing where like, I'm a fucking guy and I don't like musicals. Like it's not that at all. It's just purely, I can't connect with it. So that's goes to show how good this movie is. Because literally, this is one of my most watched movies of all time, ever since I was a kid. You know, like I say, always say Gremlins is my most watched movie of all time.
Yeah.
Like I can't even, there's no way I could possibly say how many times I've watched that. But even to the point that I still remember the VHS, the Warner Brothers VHS box tape that I had of Little Shop of Horrors next to Gremlins on the shelf, and I would just watch them back to back, you know.
Yeah.
And they're great. They're, like you said as well, they're a great double bill because of how good the practical effects are and so on like that. But it goes to show how good this movie is, because once again, it comes from like the filmmaker side of me. I love the filmmaking of this movie. I love the little things they're throwing in there. I love how it's structured. I truly love how it feels like a movie over a musical, even though it's got so much music in it. And the music itself is brilliant. Like I just sing the soundtrack all the time in my life, everyday life. You know, it just, I always sing it. And it's just such a joy to watch this movie every time I do.
Yeah.
And I know it'll be one like I'll still be watching on my deathbed going, this is so much fucking fun. Although I will only be watching the director's cut on my deathbed, even though I might want a happy ending in life. I'm not watching the happy ending of Little Shop of Horrors. I still want plants destroying everything.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just a truly fantastic movie. Like you said, it's a masterpiece. I agree, it's a masterpiece, which is once again weird for me to say about essentially a musical.
They should put that on the poster from you, the little tagline. It's like, I don't like musicals. This is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like musicals. So if you don't like them as well, well, you'll bloody love this. That's what it should be.
It's the perfect meld of I truly believe that horror and comedy go hand in hand so well. But in addition to that, it's like having the perfect meal and then having the perfect topping with it is to slash a musical on it. It's just, there aren't many things like that. It's lightning in a bottle is Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah,
you're exactly right. It is. It's just, and once again, like you think about it, like not being made by Frank Oz, not having the practical effects, not having Rick Moranis and Steve Martin, like even him, Bill Murray. And you're like, without it, the film isn't what it is as well. So it's just like you're saying, like you have those things, and then that's what creates like the lightning in the bottle that Little Shop of Horrors is. And also it is one of those very rare movies that I am sitting here talking about it now. I watched it on once for prep and another time on 2 times speed, which is the funniest fucking shit in the world, because sometimes I'd watch movies that I've done just to double check I've got everything in order, and I'll shove it on 2 times speed. But I've never done that with a musical before. So everybody's singing.
Which version did you watch in 2 times speed?
Oh, it was the theatrical one.
Oh, okay.
So I was watching that in 2 times speed, but everybody's singing so quick. So Audrey, who's already like really high pitched, she's like, and it's so fucking funny that I was literally sitting there laughing my ass off. So if you do want extra fun, just put Little Shop of Horrors on 2 times speed, and it's a revelation. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, it's a truly fantastic movie. But that's the movie. That's all we need to say about the movie. But we do move into the segment, Your First Time. So that is when you, Anybody out there, you can send me your first time horror movie memory that you remember, and I read it out on the show. Now, with James being a first time guest, I will ask him for his first time memory in a minute. But first of all, we've got the one that was sent over, and it was sent over to me from the Chills, Thrills, and a podcast. They sent it over to me on Instagram, and they put, my first horror movie moment that got me started was Child's Play in 1988, when Karen drops the batteries out of Chucky's box, the one at the back of him, and she goes to check if Chucky already has batteries inside of him. So when she opens the compartment and his head spins round and he says, "Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?" She screams and drops him, and he rolls under the couch. As a kid, it terrified me. I remember any time I would be in the basement, and when I'm heading back upstairs, I would run thinking he was there chasing me. And it made Chucky one of my favourite horror movie villains. The funny thing is what's great about that, and thank you for sending that over, Chills and Thrills and a podcast. So make sure you go and check them out on Instagram and then everything else they do. But they're not the only one that did it to, like, in history of horror. That's what's so great about that scene in Child's Play. It's so well directed, that bit where you're like, what the fuck, there's no batteries in the doll, and it's so well put together. So they're not the only one that's going to have that, but I love the fact that, once again, it's like, the point of this segment is that I love knowing what started people on their journey through horror. Mm-hmm. And once again, it comes about iconography, and that scene is such a huge part of the iconography of horror. Like, that's the scene that you're gonna put on for people watching Child's Play for the first time. You know what I mean? But as I say, I always like to know my guests as well. So can you remember your first memory?
This is tricky for me because I've established that I was a coward when I was a child.
Yes, true. Yes.
I could go. I was probably 8 or something when The Exorcist came into my life, but that's a story for a different time. It was it was probably Jaws would be my first horror movie. Technically, a horror movie.
Yes,
I never remember ever watching it fully, but the scene where in the lake for Jaws, where that guy's like, "Oh, those kids are going to get out of the water," and then the shark tips him up. But then you see the shark grab him from underneath.
Yeah.
Petrifying, honestly. And that became something of a mountain to climb for me. Because it's just like, oh, this is the scariest thing I'll ever witness until I'm 18 and then going to see horror movies at the cinema. I am still a coward, but I do brave it and sit there with my fingers in my ears and just looking through my fingers. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the thing that I love about the segment as well is that it's about, I love knowing what started people on their journey, but also what ended people on their journey as well, because horror isn't for everyone. So I do like it when I get messages through as well, where it's just like, I watched this movie and never watched horror again, but it's still enjoyable to me. But I love knowing the iconography of what started people on their journey, and if they're still on it and so on like that.
Shout out to my wife, who is the biggest horror fan ever. And once I married her, she was just like, right, watch all these. And it's like, oh, no.
Well, it always does happen. That's right. I mean, my partner, luckily, my partner has always been somebody that loves horror, and she used to watch horror on VHS and everything like that all the time. But I didn't think that she would understand that there was higher levels of horror fan. So when she got with me, and it was like the first night we met, and it was like we're watching Dawn of the Dead remake, and then the second night it was like we're watching this, and she's like, oh shit, so she sort of got herself into something that she probably didn't know existed, that sort of level of horror fan. I mean, at least you're doing it now, right? There's no time like the present.
No time like the present. Every film we've seen more or less this year has been a horror movie at the cinema. So
there's a lot of them.
It's they're keeping the box office alive, man. I think I've come to appreciate the horror genre as a whole. Ghosts, goblins, I don't know, all the rest. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I'm completely invested with anything horror at the minute. I just think it's a wonderful time we're living in.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, you're exactly right. Horror is it's nice to see that on more of a mainstream level. More people are coming to understand the importance of what horror always had. Horror has always been the thing that really was the most creative force really of what cinema was like, or it would be the genre that would implement things before other things could use it, and so on. So but always has been the one that like left behind, you know. It's always been the punk rock of cinema, you know. And it's nice now where it's like it's got the moment, you know, it's got its moment sort of like to shine, and it has it every now and again, and then it fucks it all up for itself. But it's good. I don't know, I sort of wouldn't have it any other way, I suppose, because it just makes it so much fun and more interesting. And as I say, big part of what the show is and what I love about horror is the iconography, as I keep saying, and the history of horror, and that's so interesting to me. But there we go. That is the show. That is the episode. For those that don't like musicals and were like, why is he doing an episode about Little Shop of Horrors? Well, that's fucking why. The episode, we've done it, and who gives a shit? You know, like, we can't always, as I say, it can't always be guts, ghouls, goblins, blood, everything like that. Sometimes it just has to be about an intergalactic killer plant from outer space, and I'm very happy that it is. But James, now is your time to promote absolutely bloody everything that you want to with Biscuits and Blu-rays podcast and anything else you've got going on.
Well, it's just that. It's the Biscuits and Blu-rays podcast, a new legacy version. We started again. So me and my wife co-host the thing. We talk about literally anything. It's not just horror. It's superhero movies. It's all that sort of stuff. You can follow me on Instagram as well. That's where I'll just talk about literally anything. Whatever takes my fancy. And you can follow me on YouTube, Patreon, or literally the same as you, but just a bit more of a broader spectrum of genres, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just pigeonholed myself into horror. You do a bit of everything. And then I also, I'm like, sometimes I think to myself, do you know what? I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles so much, I can't even fucking talk about them. And loads of other people, they get the chance to talk about them. So if you ever do an episode about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know where I am.
I'll pencil it in.
Absolutely, pencil it in, because I want that one. So I can talk about Shredder killing himself, the fucking idiot. But... but there we go. But everybody go and check out everything that James does. Instagram, I've already said, like, and I said to James as well, I really do enjoy his videos. We all know there's a load of fucking shit on Instagram. I talk about it all the time, and it's a lot of the times why I don't even want to be on it. And not just Instagram, all the socials. It's full of shit. It's full of the robotic algorithm putting out shit that nobody gives a fuck about. But also, it just keeps on churning it out. And then they're the ones that get all the success and the glory, even though they're being uncreative and doing the same shit as everybody else. Whereas James, like, every time he puts out a video, there's something fun, there's something unique about it. It's done in a different way. As I said, there's like, go and watch when he went to Batman's house video. It's a little video he did, but it made me laugh. And if something I'm watching on social media makes me laugh and I enjoy it, that's what other people should go and enjoy it as well, because I fucking hate social media. So if I'm watching something that's actually enjoyable, then you know you're on for a winner. A bit like watching a musical. Like watching a musical that I fucking don't want to watch, and then it turns out being Little Shop of Horrors, and I'm like, it's bloody brilliant. But everybody go and do everything, you know, you can to go and support James on his journey with Biscuits and Blu-ray podcast. Make sure you go rate, review, listen to it, all that sort of stuff.
I'm so glad, by the way, I got to see one of your rants firsthand.
Yeah, well, they just happened. They just happened.
I'm glad it did.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I mean, this is why I get in trouble all the time. You know what I mean? Like, this is why Let's Talk Horror isn't, like, you know, like, more out there, and I don't get paid for it, because I'm, you know, I just go on the rants that people, like, you know, don't want to listen to. Well, they know that it's true, but people don't want to hear it a lot of the time. But
no, man, it's top tier. Don't never change.
No, well, I don't plan to. I mean, I'm too fucking old to change now, so that's it, you know. But James, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed our chat about Little
absolute pleasure, mate. Absolutely. I'm glad we decided on this of all the films to talk about.
Yeah, it's good to have sometimes it's good to take yourself away from everything that we see in the horror world that's so dark and dreary and nihilistic, as we talk about so often, and talk about a musical. I'm glad that it's this one, because it's not going to be fucking any other ones. It's only going to be this one. So here's your one shot of a musical, everyone.
No more.
No more. That's it. We're done. We're done. No more musicals. That's it. And if anybody else gives me any more, fuck it. Not doing anymore. This is the only one you're getting. So
nice.
this is for everybody out there that loves musicals as well as horror, or just loves musicals. This episode's for you. But as I say, thank you, James, once again coming on the show. When it comes to closing out the show, of course, one of the things I always have to do is thank my honorary creepazoids over on Patreon. We got Jamie, we got Rob, we got Leighton, we got Kate, we got Michael. They are all my honorary creepazoids on Patreon. I'm not going to go through it all again, but if you want to go above and beyond to help people on their journeys, whether it's mine, whether it's anybody else's, that you love content that they create, Patreon's a fantastic way to help people on their journeys. It truly is. And it's a great motivator as well for people to not keep thinking what they do is a big pile of shit. Because you all know that I think that what I do is a big pile of shit. And when you've got people on Patreon sort of telling you that it's not, that's always nice. So go and check out patreon.com, Let's Talk Horror channel, or anybody else that creates content that you enjoy. They've probably got a Patreon. Go and check it out. But thank you to those legends over there, my ultimate honorary creepazoids, as they're called. And then, of course, with Let's Talk Horror, we're still bloody going somehow. I don't know how, but we're doing it. Make sure you go and check us out, on YouTube, subscribe, all this sort of shit that I hate doing and always forget to do. Make sure you're reviewing it as high as you possibly can. Who fucking knows? I just enjoy doing it. And just let me do it. Keep me doing it. And that's all you've got to do. As I always say to people, I can only do so much, and you are all the biggest part of all of this. And that's the most important part. You are the most important part. Any success Let's Talk Horror has is all because of you. It's not going to be down to me, because I'm just putting this shit out. And it's fucking hard work. But at least I'm putting it out. But you're the ones that are like making any success of it, sharing it on, watching it, listening to it. And it means the fucking world to me. So keep doing it so I can keep going. Because if you don't, then I ride off into the sunset or get eaten by an intergalactic space plant. And either way, I'll be happy with that. So there we go. That is the episode. As I say, thank you to James once again for coming on the show. Make sure you go and check out everything that James does with Biscuit and Blu-ray podcast. And but until next time, stay creepy, fuckers.